Now, I noticed on your website, I looked at it a little earlier, something about education. The MCA2 test, the scores actually recently came out, but they offer a convenient way for information to get out to the public about how schools rank and qualify. But I understand that you're against it. And not only that, but against No Child Left Behind, to be more specific or vague. What would be your alternative to such standardized tests, at least that one?
Well, I think No Child Left Behind has been a disaster, not only for Minnesota, but for the whole country, and it's phony accountability. The MCA2 tests, instead of providing real accountability, instead are just shaming and labeling our public schools. I believe that we should have accountability, but the kind of accountability we should have is fair accountability for our schools. So I would replace the tests we have now, 5, 6 tests, teachers teaching to test as opposed to teaching kids to teach, with one test. And we have proven tests that are easy, that come back instead of in 4 months with the MCA2s that we have now, in a couple of days, and give real information about how kids are doing. The present tests are done in the spring, don't come back till the summer when the kids aren't even in the classroom anymore. It makes no sense, and they're just used as labels for our schools do. So real accountability, not phony accountability. Dump No Child Left Behind, put a real accountability system in place, and let's focus on a funding formula so that rural schools, which right now are getting kicked in the teeth, they're laying off teachers and don't get the respect they deserve, are being taken care of properly. I came from rural Minnesota, grew up in a rural school district down in Worthington, and I want to make sure that rural schools are treated with the respect and that our rural teachers get the help that they need. Okay.
So the test that, pardon me, the test that you would implement instead would be smaller and less standardized, if I'm understanding correctly?
What I would do is eliminate No Child Left Behind, and we would replace the tests we have now. The MCA2 test we use right now is given in the spring. The results come back in the summer. The next year, an entirely different group of kids, the next year's third grade class, for example, then take that test. And those results don't come back till the following summer. And so the teachers never actually get the test results when they have the kids in the class, so it's not useful for them. If the class of 10's third grade kids don't do as well as the class of 9's third grade kids and the results go down, that school is labeled a failure. Well, that makes no sense. It's a totally different group of kids. I would scrap No Child Left Behind and replace it with what's called a growth model test. So in other words, the test is used, there's a number of different types like that, but we use one test. The results come back in 2 to 3 days, and they analyze each child and say, is Billy growing over a period of time, and is he testing at the level we would expect for a third grader? And then you can give that test later in the year and say, yep, he's growing or he's not. And if he's not growing at the level you would expect, then what you make sure that you do is intervene and help that child. So instead of accountability that seems to be based under No Child Left Behind on shaming and blaming schools and blaming teachers, we're actually getting real accountability, real information that shows us how our kids are actually doing in the classroom.
Okay. A large campaign platform of yours is green energy. What type of energy jobs would you have in mind that would specifically benefit Itasca County?
Well, there are exciting possibilities in clean energy for areas like Itasca County, the biggest of which is the next generation of biomass-related energy. We already have demonstration projects where we're taking wood and wood pulp, pelletizing it, and using it as a form of fuel. So instead of buying coal from another state, we're actually burning a Minnesota-made product, and it actually is much better for the environment. There's companies out there now that are producing new liquid-based fuels, so we can make ethanol based, once again, on sawdust, on wood pulp, and at a time when the construction industry is down, we can use wood-based products to make sure that we get the next generation of liquid fuels. And across not only Itasca County, but all of northeastern Minnesota, we can create a new billion-dollar industry in liquid fuels, make ourselves energy independent, create new industries and jobs, and make sure that we balance out the economic cycle, because liquid fuels, gasoline, ethanol are something that we need regardless of whether or not we're in a recession or the economy is going well.
Okay.
And I might add beyond that, there's other, solar is something that works really well in northern Minnesota. Northern Minnesota is an area that has beautiful, clear summers. And long summer days and beautiful clear winter days, and solar actually works well here too, and so that's something that we could be manufacturing in Itasca County and using in Itasca County.
Okay. This one's a little bit funny. I recently read in the Minnesota Independent a report that happened last May of a religious forum in D.C. Where a Minnesota woman took to the podium and asked the audience to pray to God to forgive Minnesota for electing a Muslim, Keith Ellison. With that in mind, what are some of your views of Minnesota's religious diversity, and what does religious freedom mean to you?
Well, I grew up Norwegian Lutheran. And there's obviously a lot of us in the state of Minnesota. But you know what? When Norwegians first came here, there were a lot of folks who thought the Norwegians weren't good enough or weren't smart enough. Hopefully we've disproved that over time. But Minnesota is a place that needs to welcome people, and people have different traditions. We have not only Lutherans and Catholics and Episcopalians and Presbyterians and others, but increasingly we have people of other religious traditions that are coming to Minnesota. And what I want to make sure is that everyone knows, as long as they work hard, they play by the rules, and they're contributing, that everybody's welcome in Minnesota.
Okay. Going as far along with equality, LGBT equality has been a big issue nationwide, and things have been going really far both ways. I mean, Iowa shocked everyone when they legalized gay marriage, and Texas recently has tried to criminalize it. What do you intend to do with the equality issue?
Well, I think equality is important across the board. I know the stories that my grandparents told me about the immigrant experiences of our family. And being Norwegian Lutherans, you know, there were people who thought that we shouldn't be allowed to come here. Obviously, that's faded over time. So I just support equality across the board. Now, I understand different folks of different religious beliefs think in issues, for example, like LGBT rights. You know, they don't want to do a gay marriage in their church, and I think that's fine. I think we let each church and religion make up their own rules. But as a state, I don't think that we should take a position of supporting a lack of equality. People want to take care of one another and look after one another. I think that's a great thing, and I think we should let people do that.
Okay. Finally, what particular plans do you have to increase the number of Minnesotans that have access to affordable health care? Nationwide, there's been a big step, but anything you plan on doing more locally?
Well, Minnesota has huge opportunities to expand health care, and as governor, I'm going to make sure that we're a leader in that. We have over 300,000 people who aren't insured, over 70,000 children who are not insured right now.
I have to run.
Oh, you have to go?
All right. Glad to see you again.
Good to see you here. Then I'm going to start my answer again on health care, and you can edit that however you wish. So to your audience here, we got more people saying hello now that have come here. But we have 300,000 people who are uninsured in Minnesota. 70,000 of those are kids. Governor Pawlenty ended general assistance medical care, which means in rural areas where there's no hospitals participating in the new program that they have to go to the Twin Cities just to get health care. So people don't have health care, they just get sick, they go to the emergency room, it's more expensive. What we need to do is make sure that people have access to insurance, then they'll get preventive care, it'll be early care, and that's cheaper care for all of us. So what I will do is several concrete things. First of all, we can leverage $1.6 billion of federal money, and I will do that before January 15th of next year. That's money then that will allow us to cover 100,000 people, make sure that some folks who are very sick and don't have access to insurance can get it. Then I'm going to expand access to Minnesota Care, and we can do that without raising tax dollars that we have, so that more people can get access to, who are working, to the health care that Minnesota Care provides. I believe that over the course of 4 years, using existing programs, we can create public options so that everyone can be insured, and that here in Itasca County, that people who right now are worried about being insured will be able to. And I'm very proud of the fact that the legislation that passed in D.C. is saying that kids and soon adults who have pre-existing conditions can't be excluded. Insurance companies shouldn't be allowed to do that. Women will no longer be charged higher rates than men, because I think that that's discriminatory and unfair. And I think that Minnesota, which used to be a leader in healthcare access, can become a leader again.
All right.